You good? All right, call the meeting to order. This is the special meeting of the budget evaluation team, Tuesday, April 7th. Roll call, it looks like all primary members are present. Notice the meeting was properly posted on March 18th, 2026. Item number 1, discussion possible action regarding financial and operational update from the Oklahoma County Detention Center. It's kind of a standing agenda item. Nobody's here on that, it looks like.
Yes, one question. Just kind of some follow-up on what we are going to recommend to budget board as far as asking them to itemize their supplemental invoices. We had made that, but the board doesn't meet until, unless we call it special, but they don't meet, till later in the month. The first supplemental invoice has been submitted to Jessica, and she was just looking for some direction as far as, of course, it doesn't have any of the itemized on it. If we want her to go ahead and pay that one, and we ask for itemized on the next two after budget board approves our recommendation or not, or have her hold that and try to get budget board to meet. I don't know. I just told her we were meeting today, and I thought there was an item on here we could talk about it.
I think if unless people's opinion has changed, wanting it to be done that way, I think what Jessica could do is just respond back to them and say, hey, there's going to be an item on budget board. If you guys want us to go ahead and start looking at processing this now, why don't you submit an itemized and just see if they'll, if they're willing to do that. If not, then it may have to wait until budget board or call a special budget board. But they may be willing to just do it.
Okay. I just thought it.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think that we should hold the invoice because that hasn't been approved by a budget board. So I do think that if they submitted an invoice and that hasn't changed formally, then it should be paid.
Well, budget board, there was concern that it was going to constitutional items that was mentioned in there, so.
It was mentioned, but they specifically left it out of their motion to grant the money.
Well, it was an up to amount based on looking at that. So the only way that you're gonna know what an amount is below, which that was contemplated in the motion, that it was an up to amount, the only way you're gonna know to be under that is by looking at an itemization.
We can certainly take a vote if that's the pleasure.
When do they need the funds?
Sorry?
When do they need the funds?
Well, we were told that they weren't gonna run out until May the 1st. So it seems before May the 1st. So it seems to me that they would have the funds. They needed that answer on additional funding so that they could start making plans if they were gonna need to look at furlough or layoffs. They've gotten that answer, so I would assume that they weren't out of money.
But they do invoice monthly even before this.
Sure.
So
yeah,
if we were to hold an invoice, I would assume that would impact their regular process.
well, Christie's talking about the invoices related to the one-time bailout money, not their 1/12 that they receive every single month. So I don't think Christie's not talking about the normal process, because they would have a payment that they would be invoicing just like normal this month, and that one would not be itemized. That one would be just like normal. I think what Christie specifically
I was talking
referencing
just
is
about the supplemental that we did.
So have they submitted 2 invoices?
Yeah.
So one in the normal amount and then one for the additional and funds in the full amount?
It's one,
One-third.
one of their 1/12, and then one that is the 1.5.
The
one third of
the
the
full
full
amount
third.
of like the up to X number of
It's up,
dollars.
yep, it's the full amount of the up to the third.
And it was the full amount, I'm sorry, of the
The
third.
full amount of the third.
Authorized.
Does anybody want to make a motion, or do we want to just
Can this
put it right?
body direct Jessica? I mean, just to weigh in on my pleasure would be if, what was it, king for a day? If I were king for a day, we'd get a detailed invoice before we paid anything, but I'm also worried about process.
We're gonna be meeting for a while today. Why don't we see about Jessica reaching out to them and seeing if they're willing to submit the itemized invoice? And then we'll know, hopefully we would know whether they were willing to do that or not while we're still here today. And if they're not willing to do that, then we can take this discussion up further later this afternoon. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not, yeah. I just know she got it, and she had known about our recommendations to itemize it, she wanted some directions. I'll get with her.
Item 2, discussion possible action regarding an update on employee benefits. I think we need that. Item 3, discussion possible action regarding any items currently on the BET watch list. Have anything we want to discuss on that?
You do have the updated one from the last budget board action in front of you somewhere. For some reason, my update to the attachment on the agenda did not do it. So you do have that in front of you.
Okay. All right. Seeing no action. Item 4, discussion possible action regarding any item on the future forecast tracker. Do you have anything? Okay. If not, we'll move on. Item 6, discussion possible action regarding policies, processes, and procedures related to FY 26-27 budget reviews and recommendations. Anything on item 6? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item 7. Discussion possible action regarding an update on the 2026 tax estimate.
Cody, I apologize. Can we go back to I might be looking at this wrong, the watch list item, please?
Okay.
Yeah, so under CGA, the watch list amount was $5 million, and then it says recommendation one-time funds 1.266, and then recommendation ongoing operations 1,059,059. I thought,
Are you looking at the one that was laying on the table?
I'm looking at the one that was in the agenda packet that I printed out.
That's what Cassie was saying. She tried to attach this one and it messed up, so she has an updated one on the table.
Okay.
It has the,
We did not. Okay.
that particular trust item
All right,
removed
thank you.
from it.
Okay.
All right, Blake, you ready? All right.
If you want to make it quick, you said get out of here within an hour.
You do have an large 11x17 printed out in front of you of this so that you can view it.
This is just the estimated assessed revenue that we turn in every year for y'all. It just shows the breakdown of real estate, personal, and public service. Those are the 3 parts that make up the value. And I do this pretty conservatively so that you don't have to worry about not getting these marked. So there is a little bit of wiggle room in there depending on what occurs with protest and valuation and the appeals that we're going through right now. But showing there, the real estate, we have sent out all notices. We sent out just over 275,000 notice of values this year. And so those values were all set by the time this report was done. So the value you're seeing there should be set pending appeals changes or BOE changes. The personal side, the personal is not all complete, just the nature of when they're due on March 15th every year. So we have not worked out, at the time of doing this report, we have probably worked through 7,500 of the renditions, and there are roughly 27,000 business accounts. So that number is estimated, but I do think it will reach what it was previous year, but I'm showing a decrease just because that's what we have worked through so far. Public service, that is the actual number as of now. The reason it's decreased from what you see on the 2025 number is there were a couple court cases that we had to change, and those were changed after the tax roll was submitted. So that's why it shows a little decrease, but that's, the number in the 2026 column would be if it stays even from last year. Any questions on that so far? Okay, the next section on the green is the TIF information. We have 2 new TIFs this year. There is TIFs, both from Oklahoma City, TIF 16, which is the Ocana area. It's the Ocana, and then there's some commercial area to the south of that. And then OKC TIF 19, which that is just 2 or 3 parcels here in downtown. And those both would start this year. The other, next year, this is the last year for TIF 2, which is the top line 5 and 6 up there. So this tax roll year will be the last year of that. Next year, those will be coming off, so those increment amounts would be coming to the county. And if it, at those values, that's roughly a $1.7 million increase that would be the county general fund for those areas there. Other than that, at the bottom, it just totals up everything, shows with the additional homestead, what we turned in on the report, which that is not, has not been reimbursed since 2001. And then the 5-year manufacturing, what it was, what the reimbursement for 25 would be is in there. The 26, that number, the assessed value number looks low. Everything has not been turned in on that yet either, so that number is as of last week. So I would assume that's gonna go up on some assessed value, but that's what we had as of last week. And then it just totals everything up at the bottom there. So if there are any questions, I can answer those now.
Like, I just have one question on line 31. Excuse me. The estimated revenue back, you're referencing TIP 2, the indirect. We also get coming back from TIP 13.
Yes, that is just, TIF 2 was done, the TIF 13 is factored, it's not taking the increment out here.
Okay.
How they're separated here, that's why it was done the 50% here.
Okay.
But this one is showing just the 25% city taken out, so everything you see in that increment.
I just want to make a comment a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing, or what I'm seeing as indicators from these reports, is you're seeing our overall increases estimated at about 2.82%. The tip is increasing it overall at 10%, so nearly 3 to 4 times the number that the overall county. So you're seeing that the majority of our major growth is individually setting aside TIF. So there's a big concern when it comes to that, because there are some questions that are going to be presented at the Capitol. I
clearly believe will probably go to the voters, and it's gonna be a change from the current caps. Commercial and non-homesteaded properties are capped at 5%. Those would be moving to a 3% cap. Residential and agricultural properties that are homesteaded would go from a 3% to a 1% cap. So that 2.82% that you see overall top on line 3, in my opinion, moving forward, you're going to see significantly less growth than the 2.82%. I think you're going to be somewhere along the 1.5 to 2 point range maximum, just based upon the things that we're looking at and the growth the county is experiencing as a whole. So it's a concern that we have. But to give you some idea of the current savings that are going on from these 3 to 5% programs, Blake mentioned we mailed about 275,000 notices of the real estate accounts this year. There's roughly, 330,000 real accounts total. So we're somewhere in that range of about 70 to 80% or more getting a notice. But we've started keeping a calculation of what we would consider tax savings to those property owners under those programs. So just through that mailing alone, that if there was no cap in place, there would be an additional $264 million placed upon the tax roll, which would be 26 million additional funds to the general fund revenue. So I just want you to kind of have an understanding of how those caps work, so that if they are changed in the statutes, that they will be having a future negative growth impact upon us. The legislators are saying that you're not losing anything now. They're correct. They're not taking anything away from us, but they are taking away future growth. So you might want to watch SJR 39, see how it goes across. I believe it's supposed to go to the floor on the House side this week. I thoroughly think that it will move forward. But it's just a concern that I have looking at these numbers. And then if you're thinking that the state's going to reimburse us of any monies, you can see the line item 40. They haven't paid us for the additional homestead since 2002. So we're up over the $15.6 million mark that the state has not been paying the reimbursements. So there is no additional funding coming from the state in regards to these changes statutorily.
And we passed state question 640 back in the early 90s. There's no new taxes without either 75% vote or a vote of the people. So they can't, if they eliminate it, they can't replace it without significant majorities in both bodies or putting it to a vote of the people. More good news.
Well, and just to be clear, I know what you meant, Mike, but just so everybody else is aware, when you talk about limiting growth, that 2.82%, it's not really growth for the county. That allows the county to maybe close to stay where they were before because of inflationary pressures on cost of goods. So lowering percent, it's not gonna even allow counties to be able to maintain level spending from previous years.
We thoroughly project that it will be a negative impact for us overall. With the current rates of inflation and everything else, I think that's going to exceed what our potentials will be, unless we have millions of people moving, building homes and all those things. I don't see that happening within a year. But that's a concern that I have, particularly in regards to where we are moving forward with. I think budget requests from all the offices, including taking on, I believe, what would be a jail increase, as well as a behavioral care center that's not been discussed, those types of issues, that there's going to be more financial burden based upon the county. And I don't know that we're going to be able to accurately reflect the needed funding that's needed for that.
What did you say the bill number is?
SJR 39.
And that's set for an August vote if it comes out of the House.
Yes, our current projections for our county for that would be anywhere from $20 to $40 million. So you're looking at a $2 million in budget and future revenues coming forward. I think overall statewide, it's estimated between 85 and 160 million.
Is that bill, does it allow for a step in of those changes, or would it be just when it goes into effect?
Starting at 2027, January 1, that's when it goes into effect. And there are a couple other questions, or things being pushed around too, but that one is the most significant one, I think, that is going to impact us the most.
Are they not talking about a possible impact fee where they would kind of offset some of it?
No. No, it's just, there's a tremendous push at the Capitol this year to help property owners in what they feel is a necessary move to save money. We're just going to reflect and do what the statutes require us to do, of course. But I just want you to be mindful that moving forward, if those things take place, this is probably what we're going to be facing next year, if that were to come into play. That's all I have. Which is better news.
I knew it's been coming possibly, but still not easy.
Thank
Anybody
you.
have anything for Blake or Mike? If not, is there a motion to receive the report? Thank you.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion to second to receive the report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Blake. All right. Move on to item 8, discussion possible action regarding FY 26-27 departmental estimate of needs. Let's see. Who do we have on first?
It's juvenile.
Yeah,
Juvenile.
yeah. Looks like it's benefits and retirement. Is that right?
Yep.
John?
That's pharmacy as well.
Okay.
No. I'll take this in pieces.
Hey, as we go through these,
Get to
can
it.
you let us know if, I'm not gonna change anything out in my book right now. I will do it back in my office. I can keep track of everything. Can you let us know if we need to be referencing something in the new pile, or if it's not been changed, we can just reference it in the,
Yes, yes.
okay, thank you.
Mike.
Looks like John is presenting documents for which department?
So just a little history, which you know of. Our EON this year includes our departmental budget and the entire employee benefits budget, which I've been having a hard time making heads or tails of the 40-10 budget. You know, I'd really prefer them to be two separate documents and not included like we've always done, but they are what they are. So, those are two different funds, two different total functions. So, what I'll tackle first is our departmental budget. I think the changes versus what you currently have is I kept a flat budget. I think some things were removed on the finance end, so I just saved a new budget on the actual employee benefits office. Just requested a totally flat budget. FICA was reduced a little bit due to just a little over calculation on that, but looks like 6 cents maybe. But
Pass down along, please. So the one you're showing us now is just your department, right?
yeah, just our department. So FICA was increased a little bit, retirement was decreased. Those are just calculating stuff. So it's a flat budget. No additional requests, no reductions, anything.
Well, John, I'm showing a reduction of $24.99.76 for the computer purchase,
Oh, let me look at that.
showing a negative 2,500.
Let me look back. Yeah, sorry about that. So correct, I reduced that. We purchased new computers this last year. So I just decreased that just in case anything came up. So we do have a $2,499 reduction versus the prior year for our department ask.
Okay, anybody have any questions on that one? All right, let's go ahead and move to the next.
So the next one, way more complicated. Some of this doesn't make sense, so this is a new process, how employee benefits fund was included in our departmental fund. Usually we get a big spreadsheet and we line it out, if you remember years before with the BET. So I presented finance with a big spreadsheet that we usually do. You know, they sent this to me with their estimates. I revised it with my estimates, sent it back. I think some of these numbers were pulled into this report. I think we obviously need to revise it before it's finalized.
So are you not comfortable with where these numbers are? Okay, then let's go ahead and, without objection, let's move on to the next one and give him an opportunity.
And I would ask too, if we could have two different budgets instead of the 40-10, the whole employee benefits included with our budget, departmental budget. Because I have a pharmacy departmental budget, a departmental budget, and then the 40-10 employee benefits fund. I'd like to see three separate ones. That's how we've always done it.
You have three separate ones, so what the package shows is your general fund benefits, and then your special revenues, 40-10, and then your projections, is what you're looking for to actually give you that cash transfer budget, which BET has in their writers as well. The projections just haven't been presented to BET at this time.
Okay.
Well, and I don't want to get into a situation like we were in last time where we're trying to fix things on the fly in documents. So if you're not comfortable, because this is your estimate of needs,
Yeah.
or estimates of need, however we were saying it,
I'll bring it back.
bring it back.
Please,
We'll
please,
be here.
please.
We'll be here Thursday, or maybe other times as well. So
And finance has anticipation to present the projections, so that's employee benefits, self-insurance, and,
Good. As a separate
workers'
one.
comp. Those are the three projections that will be presented.
okay, well, where that ties into his stuff,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that you guys are on the same page.
Okay.
Because, I mean, just like the rest of us around the table, when we submit our estimate of needs, it's our estimate of needs that we're presenting because we're responsible for, whatever budget. If there's a budget that he's responsible for, it needs to be his estimate of needs. So I want to make sure that he's comfortable with what he's submitting.
Where'd the packet come from that we had on our, table that for benefits?
For benefits,
Yeah.
that was, based on the modifications from Thursday's meeting,
Okay.
adding the 26 premiums
Well,
to show you the comparison, and then this morning, John reached out to finance informing us that the stipends from 26 was not carrying over for 27s.
well, there was this packet, it's not the estimates of need.
Oh, that is your projections.
Okay.
Yes, sir, that is your employee benefits, self-insurance, and workers' comp. Those are the three projections, that finance anticipates to present on Thursday, when we have the statement of revenues. We usually do the statement of revenues and projections as a package.
So,
I guess I
John,
didn't have that when I had my spot.
It was at the back.
It
was in the back of it, big old mess.
so John, if you could just look at it over the next day and a half or whatever, and then we can circle back around to yours on Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and there should be an agenda item on Thursday for follow up on any estimate of needs that have already been presented. You've presented that one. I mean, we have it here, so even if there's not a specific one for you for Thursday, we can take it up.
Sounds good.
That draft,
General
that draft agenda is out. Did you notice it's on there? The follow-up.
It should be,
estimates of needs.
the follow-up should be
I hadn't
on.
read it yet, so-
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
on everyone.
Okay.
During those times.
Okay, so we're gonna skip the 40-10 for now. Skip in-depth discussion on that, and then you said you had pharmacy as well?
Yeah, and pharmacy I have to bring back as well. It's gonna work in progress, but you have the initial one, and I can work off the initial one that you have, and then I can bring it back for discussion on Thursday.
Well, if you still have some stuff that you have to do, then
Yeah.
let's just do all that on Thursday.
Sounds good. That'll make it very
Does
clear.
anybody have any objection to that? Okay,
So all of these that we have, old or new, we don't need anyone, correct? That, I'm hearing he's bringing back new ones.
Yeah, he's bringing back new ones. I think we'll need the first part of his handout.
Of his,
Departmental
others-
is correct. Just,
yeah.
I think so.
What do you think?
Okay, next is the county clerk, Chantel. Is this book or is this handout?
Handout.
And so I believe unless the presenter brings a separate one, all of the handouts, because they're gonna be updated with that number comparison on the bottom line that was requested last week, so nothing in your book will be the best version to look at.
Okay, so
For
these
every
are,
department presenting, the accounting and compliance department has added that bottom line comparison without the benefits kind of clouding the difference.
okay, so I thought it was mentioned earlier that this wasn't all of the ones that were in here.
All of the ones from today that are presented
All of
today.
today's presentations. All of today's presentations are put together in
Okay, so for today, everything we talked about, we're gonna be going off of the okay.
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Is it possible, Chantel, when you guys make new handouts for us, that you can put the dates on them?
Yeah.
That would be extremely beneficial.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Morning, everybody. Don't have much to present, so I'll try to keep it brief. One of the first pages in the SMB packet is the general fund report of earnings. So, I already know the filings that we receive on a daily basis. A portion of that goes to general fund and a portion goes to the clerk special revenue fund. Welcome to dig into special revenue funds if you'd like. There's 3: lien fee, UTC, preservation. But the point I was just gonna make on this piece is that there's approximately, with our projections throughout the year, we're looking at putting in 2.5 million for the whole year that goes into general fund from those filings. That's what that first page kind of projects and shows you. And then for our estimated needs, overall, the county clerk's office is requesting $50,402.02 less than last year. Happy to answer any questions.
On the first page, and maybe, I'm sure it's probably across all of them, but for last year's, the net appropriations by excise board, at least on the first sheet, it looks like there's almost a $500,000 increase. I'm assuming that's because theirs didn't pull into it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Your professional services, your 70,000 that you're not requesting this year, what's that?
So what you'll see is a corresponding positive dollar on the salary line. That represents, last year we budgeted positions to fulfill certain services, but we fulfilled those through contracts last year. So there's a transfer for this upcoming fiscal year. We're hoping to put those dollars back into salary, and then we'll see how we fulfill those services moving forward.
Okay.
So you're gonna try to do those services in-house with the current personnel load that you have? Because I'm not noticing any new positions adding.
Right, it's just reallocating those dollars back to salary rather than putting them in M&O. So you'll see a decrease in M&O, but a small increase on the salary side.
So you're gonna give salary increases to current employees to perform the function that, is that?
No, it would be just to fulfill the vacant positions that are currently budgeted. So last year we had 27 positions, but of those, 2 were fulfilled through an M&O contract.
moving forward, those positions are all still there. We're still requesting the same 27 positions, just with the hope to fulfill those 3 salary positions. In contracts.
Yeah, so you'll see we're giving back a total of $50,000. So the reason the 70 and the 35 don't completely even out is because we chose not to allocate the merit across the department. So we're actually returning the merit funds that were awarded last time, about half. So we did grant some stipends with that money, but we're not requesting that for the next fiscal year. So that's why you don't see like 70 to 70 exactly in the transfer from the contracts to full-time salaries.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. I still have a few questions, but I mean, generally what we do with this is just kind of the overview, you know, presentation, and then we can get into that, you know, add future and stuff.
Absolutely. Happy to answer any questions, any other questions.
Anybody have anything?
Thank you. No problem.
Thanks, Chantel. All right, District 1.
Would anybody like, and I know you guys got We're asking for $7 million more.
All right.
All right.
I move.
Somebody's got.
Hey, did you get a handout that the person gave?
I'll take you to the
I'll go ahead and I'll start with our general fund. There's not any changes. We're asking for a flat budget. There's been no change to the salaries. There is a $10 variance, but that's just arbitrary.
In total, there's about $10 and some cent increase.
Yeah.
Mostly attributed to the cost of the employer's premiums, but otherwise we're essentially a flat budget from last year.
Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Are you guys splitting your salaries like last year?
It should be broken down.
Looks like a third out of general fund, and then 2/3.
Cody, it varies.
Well, I'm just saying on here, you got 0.33 for
Yeah.
4 of your positions, so.
Yeah, this year, the split that we have planned is employee 6 months and one employee 1 month.
Oh, I'm sorry, when I was looking at 0.33, I was looking at 25, 26.
Yes. Changing the way the salaries were allocated and moving some people around allowed us to stay flat from that expense.
Okay. Anybody have anything? Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll give it a highway cash. Projected revenue for this year right now, so up until February, we have 5.704, 857.59 million in total earnings. Estimating the rest of the year, we're anticipating not reallocation coming in from dump truck reimbursement. So, both of those numbers, 5.7 and the 1.6 together with our estimated needs. Exactly.
All right, anybody have any questions on District One Highway cash? That's what it needs. If not, we'll move on. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Paul, I think you're up next, right?
Yeah, I hope this isn't too convoluted. Well, I'll have to give you a little bit of background. But the things to point out under M&L for project reimbursement. So Deer Creek is acquiring land for the build of another fire station. We had agreed to do all the dirt work and grading and whatnot for that purpose. Originally, we committed $80,000 to that. The costs have risen. That's now going to be $100,000. So that's the reason for the additional 20 for the next FY. Under equipment other, this was originally, well, I'll have to give you a little background. So Deer Creek had a contract with the city of Edmond for ambulance services. Edmond ended that contract. Deer Creek then had to contract with Miller EMS for one ambulance at a cost of $150,000 a year. So we were going to help them with that, okay? Ultimately, they did not need that for this FY. They got some ARPA funding to do it. Everybody with me? Okay, so 125 of that 150 will be coming back to general fund. Next year, when you see the 150, that's because their ARPA funding ends June of this year, or June of 26. So that's to help them with that ambulance for next FY. Okay, I'll explain the 25 difference when I say 125 is coming back. I'll get back to that in a second. Okay, if you go to services other, we had $30,000. Here's where that other 25 comes in. We did a build planning grant that we're doing for it's planning, just for planning purposes only, all the studies and everything that need to happen for a complete rebuild of Waterloo from SH 74 all the way to I-35. And we're going to apply for a grant for that. But before that, we had to apply for a planning grant. That planning grant cost us $55,000. So we used the $30,000 from that line item plus the 25 that I mentioned earlier.
But that was a general fund expense? It seems like a highway cash thing. Okay. I think we can get into more of the specifics when we get into the budget talks. This is just kind of a.
Yeah, the only other things worth pointing out, computer equipment, we raised $1,000 to allow a computer for the new duly elected commissioner when they come in January. Furniture, we also raised for that particular purpose, to allow a new commissioner to come in and actually get some furniture other than the 50-year-old furniture that's currently in there. The part that saved us quite a bit is on salaries, because we will not have a first deputy for the first 6 months of next FY. That got cut in half. And same with the media relations stipend. So ultimately, we were $87,000 less than last year.
Is there any chance the governor will appoint that right after the election? Like November, because he has the authority to do so?
He has the
Since there's a vacancy, is there any talk that that might happen?
No, I couldn't see him doing that. I mean, it's his choice, I guess.
Paul, I have a question about your project reimbursement. You essentially said you needed to increase that to 100, right?
Yeah, take the 80, we're just adding 20.
So
But you've got a proposed budget of needs to be 100, and right now you just have it at 20.
We're using we haven't encumbered the 80 yet.
But
But
that 80 is gonna roll back to
Right.
Yeah,
it'll
you
roll
do
back.
need to ask.
Well, no, we'll be taking it in, what,
We're
next month or two?
encumbering the 80 now, and then we need another 20 next FY to
So you're
fill
doing
that
an
out.
$80,000 contract to conclude this FY, and then you'll have an additional
20
For the
$20,000.
next
in this.
FY,
Okay.
yes.
And that was the Deer Creek.
For all the grading and dirt work over at Deer Creek Fire Station, the new one they're building. Okay, that's it.
Does anybody else have anything? Like I said, I'll have some stuff that will wait till later. Anybody else? If not, we will move on. Facilities is who's presenting for okay. There's Key.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
You turn your Bible to page.
You could give us a name, that'd be great.
Let me start with a little bit of an overview. We're learning how to use the format here like everyone else. I like it, honestly. However, what you're seeing here is a combination of two budgets. 2801 facilities, and then we call it 285, which is the janitorial contract. 2801 will remain flat with the exception of the benefits portion for the employees we have on staff. That's set to increase by almost $100,000. That's the only change to the budget.
What's driving $100,000 increase on that?
People go on the family plan. We've put on more people here recently, and they're taking family plans, and that's bringing that up. I think plus also the increased burden that the county has for providing that too. So I'm not sure what the breakout is on this.
But those are just numbers that were provided by the clerk's office.
That's right. Okay. The one that concerns me just a little bit is the janitorial budget. We're approaching the end of our 3-year contract and we're going out to bid. I questioned our current provider, talked with others to try and get some idea as to what to expect as far as an increase is concerned. Also, with all the remodels that are taking place here, I think it's a good idea to question maybe the level of cleanliness, the type of cleanliness. You guys have floors on the 5th floor that you can tell whenever there's any speck of dirt or whatever, which is good. It allows us to bring those people in and do what needs to be done. Met yesterday also with the presiding judge and court administrator about any additional needs they might want. They talked about cleaning window sills, window jambs, the spaces inside, as well as cleaning outside. That'd be a different contractor. But I think those kinds of things, once we take all of that into consideration, I've included just a general idea here of 20% increase. We'll know for certain
when we dial down, into what specifically we want done as far as cleanliness and the types of things, if there are any changes. And then also, once this goes back to bid or goes out to bid and receives some responses, we'll know where we are. Again, that 20% is just a guess based on conversations I've had.
And did you apply the 20% to both?
No, just the janitorial.
What's the, right now, you said you're coming up to the end of that contract, the 3-year. You mean at the end of this current fiscal year?
Yes.
It'll be, okay.
Yes. And so last year, for example, the contract for the previous 3 years has been right at $400,000 a year. You'll see, if you can find the line, 480, 480 is the estimated increase. Again, that's not a solid number, and certainly subject to change once we determine if we want railings dusted, if we want window sills dusted, if we want windows cleaned on the inside. Yeah. We'll know more about that as soon as we get some numbers back and responses from contractors. And certainly if there are any changes that your offices would like to see, we need to include that in our specifications for contractors to review.
All right. Anybody have anything for Keith? All right. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
It is you, Mike.
Right. I'm gonna have to pass out another one. We had the changes in M&O that we made early this morning that probably happened after you guys printed. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. This is new too,
Give you guys a little summary.
Do I stand up there or can I just sit here?
You can sit there. Nice.
Holding the stand.
Sorry, Mike, did you say that you made some changes this morning?
Well, so I can answer that. So when we originally put our estimate of needs in, we didn't have reflected the actual elected official salary and chief deputy salary. So when we went to change that, we pulled up an old version of the spreadsheet that didn't have our M&O changes that was on the original one that we submitted, and we resubmitted that with the salary changes. And then we realized the M&O changes weren't on there, so then we had to redo the M&O changes this morning back to the original one that we had submitted. So it's been an exercise.
So Mike, this document that you just passed out, is this one the same as what the clerk's office?
No, you'll see some difference in that, in the M&O.
Okay.
That's why it's the new 247.
Okay, so
47.B.
So I can get rid of this one.
With the star, it's the one.
This is the.
Yes, and if there's an extra one around, if we can get one for the clerk's office, that would be helpful.
Oh, sorry, you got one.
Looking at it, this is have maybe using an old version still. I know you all are not on the county server.
Yeah, it's done on the counter stuff.
Yeah, it's not picking up the 26 printer. So.
It picks them up on.
The salary projection page by itself.
Right.
Page.
Right. It shows on the
Page 5.
on that page,
Just not on
but it
your
didn't pick it up
salary.
on this one, and that's the one we used this morning. But it may have been amending an old one. Yeah.
Was a quick reference for BT this morning.
Okay.
Other than that, everything else is fine.
Okay, so walk you through real quick. The salaries are up about 17,000. That reflects annualizing the couple of clerks that we had to add for courtrooms last year, as well as the change in the elected official and chief deputy salary. Benefits, the change there is just reflective of, and that went down, actually. I don't know what that number is wrong, that 41,399. That should be about 34,000 down. On the benefits, most of that is the change in the health premiums that we got from the clerk's office. Travel, the $3,600 difference there is we had not budgeted fully for the elected official monthly travel until the clerk's office kind of changed and showed us that we were going to do the roll down categories. And so we had been just budgeting that top line, and what we came up short, we were making up by shifting parking over to the revolving fund. M&O are just some minor differences. Same thing, kind of getting the line items exactly where they needed to be. Capital, last year, the 425 of that was one-time funds. So we're back to the 50,000 that we've traditionally had in our budget. And so the budget increase for the year is almost $14,000 or 0.1%. Then the second page, I'll just kind of run through quickly. You guys can read it, but our workload has increased about 24% in the last 5 years, meaning that basically 1 in 4 cases that we're handling today, we weren't handling 5 years ago. At the same time that has happened, our budget has been basically level, except for county-wide changes and those 2 clerks. Well, we've added 3 clerks in the last 5 years. We see that growth across all divisions. Civil, which is our biggest division, is also the biggest. It's up 33%. Criminal is our second largest division. It's only up 12%. Juvenile is our smallest division, and it's up 36%. So, we feel like we're being way more efficient than we were 5 years ago. Our per case costs have actually gone down because the number of cases has gone up significantly while the budget has stayed relatively stagnant. So we feel like we've been good stewards of the money and haven't had to come back and ask for more to handle that. That can be difficult to sustain for a long period of time, of course. And as everybody knows, our friends at the legislature not only are looking at cutting our budgets, but also they continually come up with new things for us to do without funding those things. And so far, we've been able to absorb those things. But as we continue to get more activity with the same funds, it makes it more and more difficult to absorb those things.
Mike, I'm sorry, did you address the $8,500 increase in the professional services?
The 8,500. So it was line item, the 95 to 18,000.
Yes.
So that line item is for our courier that runs things between our Edmond office, our juvenile office, and here. Every day they bring things from those offices. Occasionally we send things back, but mostly it's bringing things down.
Okay.
All right, anybody have any other questions? So Mike, you'll get this married up with this, right? So that
Yes.
it all.
Yeah, provide a new summary.
Okay, so I don't need to hold on to this.
Okay.
But I will hold on to this.
I remember to do that in the weekend. Thank you, Cody.
You bet. Okay, next on the list was the sheriff's office, but it's been requested that the district attorney's office take this slot, and Cassie had requested the sheriff's office to move to Thursday. So do we have Ross here? Okay, well, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, so let's go ahead and just. Huh? Yeah, he's but are you presenting?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he's on the schedule for 12:40, so that's probably why he's not here yet. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if Stacy HR is not here. Is anybody here?
I am.
Okay, well let's.
I don't know where I am in the line.
But let's go ahead and
Yeah, so.
let's go ahead and move to District 2.
goes there. Yeah. Move on to me?
Yeah.
Let's see. So ours is very straightforward and easy. Typically, we have been budgeted $100,000 for a special project out of the general fund. Commissioner Mon has opted to forego the special project for this next fiscal year and go ahead and roll those dollars back to be used elsewhere. And so really overall, we're having a cost savings of $102,000. So that's roughly a net savings of almost 21%. Essentially everything else is flat except for, of course, the premiums. We've kind of moved some different items into different line items, but no additional asks anywhere else. And that's essentially it for the general fund.
What was the overall?
The overall savings was $102,795. It's almost 21%.
Okay.
You still split some salaries, don't you?
We do. And I think that will not change. But if you look on highway, all in all, it looks like we're gonna actually incur some cost savings there too. Going through, using this new form, kind of breaking down all the itemized M&O highway expenses, I've been able to kind of really assess each category individually and really kind of hone in on some cost savings, a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. So I've been able to incur a little bit of cost savings in the M&O as I go through all of that. And then also, I had to do that because we are also having to spend some money in our right-of-way acquisition. We're going to be doing a big project with the turnpike. They're going to be adding some access roads that we are having to squirrel away money for. They're about $2 million a piece. And so that partnership is going to be very costly, but it will be very beneficial to the constituents out there living along the new Kickapoo Turnpike. But all in all, we were able to reduce our ask in highway as well, which is good because we need to save some money there for that project.
Anybody have any questions for Brandy? Move on. All right, Christy, you want to go?
I can do that. Tab 14.
So we have a book now for you?
Well, now I think it's in the handout. Still, I'm gonna switch my book out later.
You won't be able to got the handout.
I don't remember.
But you're gonna have to change.
So
I
not
will
all
get
of them
general.
today are.
Okay. All right, so book it is.
Book it is?
Book it is.
Book it.
Don't say Dana. Ours is pretty straightforward as well. Our general fund is exactly flat. Our general fund now, about 2 years ago, we worked on a statute change that allowed us to spend a lot more for our office out of resale. So that's kind of what has brought our general fund down. We have the lowest draw of general fund dollars of any office. So it's the exact same at $243,275.56. All that is Butch. He does have to be paid by statute out of general fund. Of course, some travel, his phone, and then there is a contract in there for $50,000. Those are bank fees. And the only reason those have to be out of general versus a treasurer's fund is because it's for the official depository where every elected official and departments have funds. So general fund is exact same as last year. Our resale is a decrease of $204,324.45. That's the main bulk of that is we're gonna be down 2 employees. One we're not funding, and one we have now moved to mortgage tax. And the last fund we operate out of is mortgage tax. It has an increase of $2,632.30. That's gonna be a combination of decreasing our capital after we did the bulk of our remodel, but then adding that employee I just spoke about that's coming over from resale, with a small increase in M&O. Our overall net decrease for all three funds is $201,692.15.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Christie? If not, let's go ahead and move on to the county engineer's budget. Stacy?
It's making you do that. He's making you.
This should be a part of your handout because of the pre-meeting estimate.
All right, Aaron, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
So our budget is basically flat. We did move some money from M&O up to registration fees. That's gonna have a little bit of increase for some education there. But we took it from M&O. And then we are requesting a part-time salary. That is because ARPA is gonna need, some compliance, done, and I'm not sure if county manager is gonna be here to be able to do that, so that's the reason why we're asking for that. We've always had it in our budget, and then we thought we didn't need it last year, so we're just putting that back in.
What do you mean you don't know if the county manager's gonna be here to do it?
I heard that there may not be a county manager position, so I don't know who would be doing the ARPA compliance. So if that falls on me, since I'm the financial manager over all of the construction part of the ARPA, I think that would fall on me, but I don't know. I haven't been really given any direction on that.
Okay.
If somebody else wants to take that on, that's it.
Okay.
So that would only be needed if the county manager position wasn't filled and then the new position that was created or supported by the OCC to support the county manager, you would only need that part-time position if those two positions weren't.
Correct. If that's gonna fall back on our department, I'm gonna need some help with it.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Preliminary questions? Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
One thing I'd say there is even, I mean, if it really is that there won't be a county manager, the three VOCCs, I think still need administrative type person like.
Right.
The financial administrator, yeah. Okay, can you text HR and see if they can connect, because we're flying here. Assessor?
Just looking at both our budgets on this report, the regular general fund and reval, which is the 10% by the Avalon entities. And the 10% that we're responsible for on the backside of the general fund. Starting with general fund, you'll see some of these changes are just reflections of us moving things in accordance with those categories. But I have some information to kind of give you about some of them individually. Looking at our printing and binding, you'll see a change of about 10,000. That is our forms and some of our mailings that we use out of the general fund for that purpose for homestead. You're going to see a change there for equipment maintenance of 22,000. That is a change. It's a move from out of the previous position. There's a little note. You'll see a note attachment page that will help you as well. That is included. Other than that, there's a little bit of inflation for office supplies, and then the services others. There's a little bit of a contract change. So overall, change of about $28,000 difference there.
28,000 more or less.
More. Then moving into our capital outlay, you'll see that there's the major changes, the computer equipment purchase of the 133.6. That is actually, if you look on the note page, there's 3 items there.
The note page.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's under regular capital 55,080. There's 3 items there. There's the data domain. That's a backup solution for credits in the cloud. You're going to see the new computers. Those are our typical ones that we go through our recycle period of every 3 years that we refresh our PCs. And then the database server of 121,000. That's somewhat the discussion I had with you guys last time about that we're trying to remove our presence from the server room across the hall. That is one of 2 servers that we would use to buy for our CAMA system. And that's some of the things that we were looking at using the OSU funding for that we've received in a reimbursement through that piece because we feel that fully reaffirms the use of that funds for CAMA. And that was the purpose of the new server as well as getting out of the room. So all in all, those changes were about 130,000.
You said you do a PC refresh every 3 years.
Correct.
Is there any way to stretch that longer?
We typically find that stretching them more than that, we run instances where we can't get equipment or we're having to try to acquire them without knowing what those prices are. I don't know if you've been pricing PCs lately, but they've been increasing. Same thing with servers. Anything that's technical hardware, they're seeing anywhere from 50 to 100% changes from previous years. But our common goal has always been a 3-year refresh. And then if those PCs are available for use in other places, we will try to see if we can push them to other offices. I've done some of that before with you guys too. But that's our best practice. Some of those.
Just to follow up, so do you do the whole office every 3 years? So it's on a
No,
phase like.
it's on a 3-year phase, yeah, we raise. Every year we'll rotate a third, so that over a 3-year period, all of them. Some of those, as you get into reval, those are gonna be a little different because those are field machines. They have more abuse to them, but we're not into reval yet, but these are typically the ones in the office. Any questions on the general side of things? And then we have a couple of contract increases. That's some of the other parts are typical 5% increases on them.
Mike, you got on this page, that line that you were going over, the 271,600, that is, you've got it delineated here on your regular capital.
Sorry, what line is it?
That 133,600, the increase that you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
And you got all of that on here. But then at the end of this, you have another 55,080 that has a $254,000 increase there. Is that separate from the other 55,080, or is that included in that other one? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Under the regular capital of 55,080, the notes, the note page.
One's reval.
Okay, yeah, that's, I missed the back of this page. I was looking over in reval. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, there's gonna be another mirror,
Yeah.
121 on the reval side, yeah. But no changes in the salary or benefits, that's just driven by, the health cases of all those things, so no changes in that. And if you don't have any questions, I'll move on to reval.
Okay.
Same thing with salaries and no change there. The health benefits, that's just the change in the way we're doing the health benefits. If you're looking at line 52,000 and 1.6 million. And you're gonna see a decrease in the health and life insurance premiums. We've had a couple people change their health insurance premiums. We did change our travel budget. All of our reval guys are required to go get continuing accreditations and travel. If you started booking travel, you're gonna be surprised at the price of airline tickets right now. With ongoing to the world and fuel and everything else. Changes in the mileage, same thing with fuel prices. All the things that go with travel, lodging, meals. Then moving on to the maintenance and operations, you're looking at 136,000 increase. That some of that is going to be the changes that we were talking about. Printing and all of our printing services are going to go up. All of our forms, all those types of things are going up. So you see a 30,000 change there. You're seeing the software as a service for the 26,000. And then in equipment and maintenance, we've had an imaging system that we've used to image all of our documents for the last 25 years. It's a Kofax piece. And that piece is being retired and it's no longer supported. So we're going to have to migrate to the next version of that or drop out and try to acquire an entirely new scanning system. I think we've looked at the Treasure system before. I think that we're going to look at taking the option of just upgrading to the next version of our Kofax. I think they're calling it Tungsten. So you're going to see there's some fees involved. There's going to be an initial fee of acquiring that product, and then there's going to be a migration fee of getting everything moved to this new platform for some of that service. Then you see professional services of 68,000. That's our near map aerial photography flights that everybody in the county has access to. And then the capital outlay, that's where you're gonna see those changes for, the computer equipment for 55,080. If you'll look at it, it's the same, 121,000 for that server. That's gonna be the mirror server for our backup, as well as the other things that we're trying to do for that service in adding backup systems, and we're looking at hopefully going to the cloud is kind of what we're trying to do. The prices are almost the same. There's a little bit, I think, a discrepancy of choice in our office right now, whether we move to the cloud or we host it locally. And there's a little bit of computer software updates and services there, a little bit of additional for furniture. But I think all in all, our amount is just over. Marcy would probably have to help me find that number.
512, 712.
512, 712, is that what it is? Yeah, 512, 712, 82 for both budgets is what we're looking at. With the reminder, of course, that reval, the 10% funding comes in as a requirement from the county on that side. But our goal is to utilize the OSU reimbursements and everything that we can to support CAMA. So if we can utilize those funds, we're almost really at a flat budget. That reimbursement is behind. And that continues our support of CAMA, our support of imaging systems, our new cost tables that we're gonna have to buy, all those things that update our appraisal system and allow us to produce our valuations that we use to generate the general fund revenue.
What was that total reimbursement?
Total reimbursement was 541,000.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Somewhere in that change. Now annually, that number
I bet I have it.
is roughly 125 to 140. It's just that there were several back payments in the initial one. But as I said, moving forward, our goal is to hopefully utilize that 120 to 140 annually to pay our CAMA system software, at least that portion of it. If we can work with legislators and maybe make some changes in statutes on the reimbursement rates, that we might be able to have additional funding other than the 10% we're getting down. Because that was 1.4 million that was generated for the state program, but we only get 10% of that back. But our goal would be to be something similar to what Christie's worked with the Treasurer's Office, and that we can get that additional funding back to us. That just eliminates the needs for things that we use for our CAMA system, but hopefully if we can get additional things, then maybe that alleviates some of the general fund as well.
That total was 553,312.87. 553,312.87.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Alright. Seeing none. When okay.
About 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Each person responded.
Or planning.
Or planning, excuse me.
Okay. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, so we're ahead of schedule. All that we have left on here on this list is Sheriff's Office, HR, MIS, and planning in the DA's office. The DA's office is listed on this, but nobody else is here. Brandon is here, so we'll go ahead and present that, so we won't have to do that on Thursday.
Down the bottom, what's
13.
13.
Lucky 13.
They did hand out a new one. So, so for ours looks a little bit different this year just because, here recently, it seems like the county has kind of been gung ho on funding all things constitutional. So we have, modified and added some of the things that have never been contemplated for the sheriff's office, really since I've been doing the budget at least. So, all the salaries and benefits are about the same, but there are some things, that we've rolled in, to ask for, because again, all these things directly fund, the constitutional duties of the sheriff's office. I think the language is adequately fund, the stuff, so, you know, up until really, I would say, maybe 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, the sheriff's office, the law enforcement side, only had salaries and benefits. There was no travel, there was no maintenance operation, there was no capital that was provided, from the county. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, this group and the budget board, were able to put some transportation, cost in and some, vehicle fuel, and so we were obviously super grateful for that. That's helped out considerably. Kind of able to piggyback off of what Mike was saying. You know, we kind of do a similar job in a way. We perform it differently, but when Mike gets busier, we get busier. And so some of the things that we've had to find a way to pay for on our own, you'll see in 3 major line items as uniforms. The county has never provided any uniform money to replace uniforms for our employees. That includes uniforms, that could include equipment. And so either we spend a little bit of money on providing the tops and the bottoms, but I mean, as crazy as it sounds, the majority of our deputies buy their own stuff. They buy their own shoes, they buy their own belts, and up until ARPA, they bought their own firearms. So that, it kind of sounds crazy when you say it out loud, but you know, it got brought up in a recent meeting that we just kind of know around here that the county is in a certain financial position, and so we don't really push it forward. But again, it sounds like those coffers are open now. So the next thing is law enforcement supplies. Those are all of the contracts that we front fund every year on the law enforcement side, and some of those things are not some of those things. So it's things like mobile cops, so that allows us to talk back and forth with other people on the street. CAD, which is computer aided dispatch. RMS, which is record management system. The radio contracts, our deputies can talk back and forth with each other. Axon body cameras, tasers, ImageNet copiers, SmithNet, which is Smith detection, which is like the X-rays for people coming in downstairs. The fiber connections with OMES, OLEX, which is the law enforcement terminal system. There's several investigative tools like watch systems and utility data services, Easy Street Draw, login, leads online. So what those things do is allows investigators to go in and without providing too much proprietary information, it allows investigators to find people that otherwise can't be found. So iTouch biometrics, so that's for records and warrants. That's when they do fingerprinting for people that come in. NASRO, which that one actually, we can take that one off, but that's not technically constitutional. Some other tech related software, so NetMotion, Iricom, Beyond Trust, some of these things that allow us to take our computers from a secure desktop location and move them to a vehicle. So it's like a rolling office. And so our tech team, along with MIS, has done a really good job of allowing that proprietary data to stay safe and secure. United Engines, which is for Midwest City generator, for generators just in general. Obviously, you know, we can't just let the electric go out. Nobody can call dispatch. Fleet tracking for vehicles. And that's kind of a list of that's kind of a list of all that stuff lumped into the 1.1, and I can obviously break that down if we need that broken down. And then the other big line item is the 1.782. Another thing, saying it out loud, the county has never provided law enforcement vehicles, has never paid for law enforcement vehicles for the sheriff's office. It's always either come through drug asset forfeiture, seizure money. I guess it would probably be the easiest way to look at that. And frankly, it just doesn't come in near enough of a pace to keep law enforcement vehicles. And again, prior to ARPA, deputies were responding to your houses in with a 300,000 mile car that probably had a couple of flat tires. So, and obviously, you know, the original push for ARPA was in 2022 for those Tahoes. And so those are, as you can imagine, with the sheriff's office drives a cumulative total of about 2.5 million miles a year. So you can divide that by the number of vehicles, and a lot of those vehicles are pretty high mileage already, even though they were brand new just 4 years ago. So anyway, that's the three major line items that those are things that we've had to scrounge and try to pay for out of the, and frankly, we haven't paid for it. At least 2.3 of that we've not been able to pay for. So the uniforms of the vehicles, the 1.8 and the 500, I guess 2.3, yeah. The $1 million we are currently paying for out of service fees and special revenues, where it's allowed, because we have to. There's no other choice. But anyway, so that's really it for the for that section of it. As you again, the salaries haven't changed. You know, with that being said, though, there are I mean, frankly, if you were to call today and you lived in, let's say, Deer Creek, and you needed somebody to get out there, right now one person is going to show up, because there's 7 people assigned for the entire county at any given time, and you know, they're working different districts. One might be all the way up in Luther, one might be in you know, here in New Orleans, one might be in Metro. So at least initially only one person's coming. And so, you know, obviously you could see where we could probably add 13, 14, or probably 12 people, I guess, to patrol. You know, like Mike said, his workload's increased over there. All that stuff comes back through us too. We've got to go serve all that stuff. And, you know, we have been able to get a couple of extra employees over the last few years for judicial services, which is where they do all the court and civil process, which has been fantastic, but it's not enough. There's paperwork mountains back there, and they have to kind of decide which goes first. And it's not because of lack of them working. It's just there's just frankly too much paperwork coming through. So so that's kind of a quick rundown. I know this is the quick rundown section. All of our, for some reason, I don't see the sheets for our special revenues. All I see is the salary table for that. But, so we have 3 other accounts: 1160, which is service fees; 1161, which is special revenue; 1162, which is grants. There's no major changes in that, but I don't see the sheets for those. But there's no major changes in any of those. There's been no changes as far as employees. Grants still has the same 2. Service fees still has, or I'm sorry, special revenue still has the same 1. And then in 1161, there's always some fluctuation with, you know, some of the stuff that we have as far as SROs and you know, some of those scenarios. So, but either way, even those employee numbers are the same. So that's the quick rundown. Happy to answer any questions. But I did at least want to include, you know, some of those big numbers that we have to try to find a way to pay for. And again, frankly, out of the 3.3, we don't pay for 2.3 million dollars of it. It goes untouched every single year, and it has ever since I've been involved in this process. So
the vehicle number, Brandon, would that be a total fleet, or would that be more of a planning thing of doing so much per year?
Yes. So, well, it would be so many per year, and you know, it seems the best way to take, well, maybe it's not the best way, but it's by far the most cost-effective way, is doing like a lease program. Industry standard kind of tells us that, you know, like you hear people say, well, we're buying vehicles from Kansas State Highway Patrol. And what they do is when they get, there's kind of a point of diminishing return on these vehicles, as you can imagine. And once they hit a certain marker, you know, they're not worth anything to put on an auction or to roll back into your fleet. Right. So the $1.7 million is a totally sustaining system where they provide everything. They basically say, hey, Mike, your we saw based on your fuel reports, you've got X amount of miles, it's time to come pick up your new vehicle. And they just constantly keep the fleet rotation going. And then again, they can sell those things back and put that money back in the system. But, in total for all of our fleet, I probably should have this number, but we spent around $8.5 million, I think, for all brand new vehicles that our group covered. That includes upfit and everything. So this is just kind of a system, and that number can be fluctuated and modified. That's kind of the an equivalent of what we currently have. And if we can't do the equivalent, then of course we could take a look at that. But I just want to put that in there to kind of give an idea of what it actually costs to run the sheriff's office on the other side, because our estimates and needs have always been kind of simple: salaries, benefits, and then 2 line items for M&O, and then there's nothing else.
Right.
So we just, I think Cody brought it up unrelated to our department, but there's just, I think sometimes it's, well, the sheriff's office get everything they ask for. That's just simply not true. Or anybody says, well, we get everything they ask for. And again, that's not true. There's just a lot of stuff we don't ask for because we're trying to be cognizant of the county's offer. But there's a giant number on the backside that keeps this thing afloat. That again, $2.3 million of it, we just simply don't do.
So those vehicles, they'd be fully equipped, ready to go?
They are, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You sure? The 1.7, how many vehicles is that?
It's 135.
What is your total fleet vehicles?
I'd have to get that number, but it's around 155, probably 160. And when I say fleet vehicles, I mean, there might be and it wouldn't be necessarily that number, but when I say vehicles, I'm talking about everything that fleet services. So the thing, how we mow the range, because training's required. So how do we keep we got to drive a certain amount of hours per year, those sorts of things. So there might be, again, not necessarily rolled into that number, but when I say fleet vehicles, I give that total number. That could include the tractor that's out there too. Anything that's got a B number on it that we assign to our fleet division is all part of the
How many patrol and transportation then?
Well, just transportation, there are 7, I believe, in transportation specifically. Now, when I say transportation, what I mean is the extradition folks. There's also 6 that we have for the current MOU with the jail. So I guess that's 13. And that does not include anybody that does lockouts, tag outs, any of the other civil process. That's just the people that go get employees. In patrol, there's 30 assigned total. There's 7 per shift, and then there's 2 mental health deputies that kind of float. So there's 4 total shifts. So like process and travel though, which would include the 7 that I said, there's 25 total in that. So those, and again, they all have different responsibilities. They're running and doing various things.
How many, do you remember the number of Tahoes? Was it like 40?
Total? No, the first order was 47 and the second order was 75.
And then prior to ARPA with the Tahoes, how did you get cars?
Well, I mean, we ordered them sporadically. The last time that I remember ordering cars was 2019, I believe. And we were able to order 13 Chargers using, seizure money. So, I mean, I call it seizures of blanket. It's not all seizure, but it's, federal asset forfeiture or seizures or whatever the case is on depending on how it's adjudicated.
And are you projecting like a revenue shortage in your special revenues?
If we funded all this?
No, just this year. Shifting this, are you making part of the shift because your special revenues are down?
No, I mean, this has never been paid for out of special revenue, like I said earlier. Like this is our service fee.
When you say seizure, the commit money?
Yeah, so that's a special revenue. So,
right.
I don't anticipate it going up any. I mean, and so being able to buy, but I guess more so my point is that being able to buy 13 cars every 10 years is just not sustainable. Yeah, it just takes a while to save that up, and so.
For uniforms, you said deputies are fully responsible for buying pants, shirt.
They're not fully responsible, but they're issued very, very few. So, I think when you first hire on, you get 3, and then, every other year you get 1 extra.
You guys basically have a clothes closet out there, right?
Yeah, so, and a lot of the uniforms I have, I mean, frankly, are hand-me-downs. I mean, somebody that quit early enough that they were still in decent enough shape, they could wear those.
And where are those funded from right now?
Service fees. That was special. Yes, service fees.
But a lot of it is the deputies buy boots now. Deputies buy their own.
Boots.
Handcuffs, belts, they're buying all that stuff themselves.
So handcuffs, is that out of equipment, or are you including that in the uniforms and wearing apparel?
Well, yeah, it would be in that, equipment, under that $447,000 line item, uniform and wearing apparel and equipment. And that would fully outfit somebody on a routine basis rather than, them either paying for their own or only getting it every 2 years. A lot of departments do uniform allowance, but we've not, that seems pretty costly. They're pretty substantial.
On your law enforcement supplies, that was a really long list. Some of it kind of sounded like maybe professional service contracts, not just a tangible supply.
On the $1.1 million?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a list that I read off.
I know, but would some of that be considered professional services, just like a contract with someone?
Yeah,
Rather
so
than a
some of it
supply?
is. Yeah, some of it is. I just, again, instead of making this thing super long, which I mean, again, I can break it all out if I need to, but instead of making the list super long,
I was just thinking of professional services line item for the ones that are like just your contracts for professional services
okay, yeah, I mean,
versus
we
supplies.
can modify that, yeah. Yeah, I can modify that and put that into another category. I was just, the list was 20 items long, so I didn't want to put it all in.
Not saying necessarily that, but just when you were reading the list, some sounded just like more of a professional
Yeah,
service.
some of them, yeah, sure.
And on the uniform wearing and apparel, that 447, I believe some of that, there's still more money that would be paid for out of some of the other accounts. But that's the amount that we need to be able to offset what we have not been able to take care of.
Mm-hmm. So is that for additional shirts and pants, handcuffs?
Well,
Does
it
it include?
not necessarily handcuffs, but I mean, some of that stuff just doesn't really wear and tear like a uniform would. But I mean, uniforms, I mean, some of these guys are going through more often than others. I mean, depending on how active they are, how much hands-on they have. I mean, it's not uncommon for some of those guys to go through a fair amount of.
I thought you said that was the 445 was handcuffs and belts now too.
It includes that too, yes. I just meant that's not necessarily a normal standard replacement item like a uniform is.
But it would initially give a new
Upfront,
deputy.
Correct, yes. Yeah, that would give us the ability to fully kit an officer. So they get hired on, instead of giving them 3 uniforms and handshake, they would actually get, belt, all the stuff that goes along with it.
So you say all the stuff that goes along with it. So you said belts, handcuffs, does it include boots, like?
Yeah, it would include boots, belt, inner belt. So a lot of people know there's 2 belts. So there's an inner belt and an outer belt. The keepers associated with that, all the keepers for, the tourniquets, the EOC, the taser, baton, firearm holster, mag pouch. I mean, again, all the pouches, all the things that are either attached to the MOLLE vest or to the belt. It would be, you'd be able to take somebody, that would allow somebody to go into the property room, get their stuff, and immediately go to work.
And then when you do have turnover, would they return all of those items?
Yep.
You don't want the boots back.
Or if there was some type of other revenue source, is that something that revenue source could help pay for these?
Sure, 100%. Yeah.
Now, did you say you did do the detail on your special revenues?
At
Yes.
some point, I think there was an issue with, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
I think there was an issue with it at some point between, I know that Andrea has been working with Kit, trying to sort that out, and I don't know if that was ever done or not.
No, they're still working on that.
Okay.
It's still
Okay.
outstanding, pending
Okay.
item.
Okay.
And so since it was really just a revenue fund, I didn't anticipate it to be, needed this morning, but if you all would like that, we can get that over to you all as well.
Yeah, if everything stays exactly like it is, we would just still not be able to buy cars, still not be able to buy uniforms. We would obviously be able to pay for the contracts, but my whole point was is that, the budget board voted very clearly that they're gonna start funding constitutional duties. And so I just thought that if that were the case and we weren't making anybody else look for additional revenues and pay it out of their special or cash accounts, then I don't think we should have to either. Was more so my point, Christie.
I got it.
All right, anybody have anything else? If not, let's go ahead and take up planning commission.
Sorry, Eric, it takes us a second.
I think pretty standard. I don't think there's anything unusual about ours compared to last year's. I don't know if you recall, we were asking for money to redo the master plan. And so that was an item that stood out in our budget last year. Now that that project is underway, this is just our typical budget. I'm sure there's an overall increase, but that just goes along with the cost of items going up. Postage has gone up, publication costs have gone up. So I don't know if it'd be more beneficial if there's a particular question that you had on a particular item. Overall, I think our two budgets that we have for the general fund and the special revenue fund are pretty straightforward.
Well, as far as your general fund, it looks like the main contributing driver is salaries, 60.
Right, that's right.
Is that just a standard increase that you're proposing, or?
Right, it goes along with what was directional in the direction that we got in regards to potential raise that we were supposed to calculate for that. So Marquita and I are the ones that are paid out of the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else that's in our department is paid out of special revenue.
Okay, so did you just calculate a certain percentage, just a straight rate percentage, or?
Right.
Okay, that was what percent?
It was 3.
3, okay.
Anybody have any questions for Eric? No? Move on. Thanks, Eric. All right, MIS is here, that's what you said? Okay. Dane? Oh, okay.
Hey, not us.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
All right, start with salary. The only increase we're asking for in salary is to cover two things. One, safety award. It's come to my attention that we're maybe the only department that doesn't do a safety award stipend. So we're asking for that. The other is, now that we have the burials and cremations, with the ARPA dollars ending at the end of the year, we've asked for an increase so that the person who does that job can continue to make the same rate for doing that job. Other than that, it's all the same. As far as travel goes, we're asking for some more in travel because now we have the GIS guys, they do some conferences. We would also like to be able to send either our ops manager or some of our level 3s or 2s possibly to some conferences that they've never ever gotten to go to. We've never been one to do conferences or anything like that, or conventions, or so there's probably some that we can benefit from. As far as capital, the only addition in capital is last year we were given $55,000 for the sheriff's office to buy their Office 365 for the reserve officers. We went ahead and left that in because with the cost of hardware just exploding right now, having that cushion is really nice. Because if we have to buy any servers or switches, which I'm sure we will at some point, there's going to be some new projects with new buildings, some new something that we don't know of today that we're going to have to go fund. Having that cushion is really nice with the cost of hardware exploding due to the RAM increases. So I know, just as an example, I believe we quoted a new server for the sheriff's office, and it started out at $8,000. When we refreshed the quote a couple weeks later, it was $12,000. That's 50% increase. So we're finding that to be pretty common whenever we go do hardware purchases. So.
What line item do you have that in, the 55?
What, I'm sorry?
What line item do you have the 55,000 in?
It's probably it might be in software right now.
Software annual license for that?
For now, but it can be moved into hardware.
Dane, what?
Yes.
Speaking of software, the software as a service.
Yep.
What all's in that category?
Software served under capital or M&O? M&O.
54 is the M&O.
Okay, so for M&O, software as a service would be Tyler, would be, I believe, Esri is probably in there now. It'd be Carpel for the DA's office, and that'd be the prosecutor and the defender for the PD's office. Software as a service can also mean, well, subscriptions is probably 365. Those are probably the three I can think of. So as far as M&O goes, we're asking for about an 8.5%, slightly more than an 8.5% increase. The majority of that is, part of that is the $55,000 that we bought the sheriff licensing last year, which was a capital expense in the first year, becomes an M&O expense this year. So that just moves over. The second part of that is burials and cremations program. There's a good chunk of that we've never had that funding. So those offer dollars, when they go away, we've still got to fund it for 6 months.
Do you know what that amount is about?
It's in the 50,000-ish for 6 months.
Telecommunication services, 27.9 new.
No, that's Cox. That's phone system.
Well, it was 0 last year and it's 27.9 this year.
It's because we didn't have a telecommunications or a line item for that last year.
Okay. So it's just a roll
That's a new
down,
way
just a
that's
different
part of
roll
the
down. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
The cost per line from Cox isn't going up. As far as I know, it's still, I believe it's $12.99, but lines come and go, and mostly they come. They don't go very often, which I personally don't understand how we keep growing so much, but we go with what we have. So, and yes, well, everyone that sits on the IT council is aware that we are exploring other phone systems as of right now. This is where we're at. So,
what are we paying for Tyler per year?
Paying for what?
Tyler is over 600,000 now at this point.
So I did get a new contract with them because we were doing some things, and it's gonna be almost 49,000 a month. It's going up, but not as much as what we anticipated for.
600K.
And so it's gonna be about 10,000 less than what we anticipated.
Still 610.
What year are we on?
My predecessor was the manager of that project, I believe, in 2014, so probably close to a dozen years at this point.
14, 15 was the year it got implemented, but it was going to start paying before that.
all I got, unless you've got more questions for me.
What's causing the increase in software annual license renewal? The 244,000.
Part of that is probably Esri, having the Esri cost now.
But that's annual?
Then you mentioned the 50,000 moved from capital into that category as well.
Right. Yeah, any license we buy, the first year is always capital expenditure, and then the second year goes to M&O and stays up.
I know this probably doesn't fall in your budget, but has there been any movement with increasing or changing the room across the hall and all the cooling systems or safety issues and all that?
Nothing new I'm aware of other than what we talked about at the council. We're still on our path to relocate production to Midcom. So currently we're in a position where we have converted all of those servers from VMware to Hyper-V. It's going to save us some money. I'm not going to see it this year, but maybe next year, just because VMware, it's one of those other costs that exploded. We found that not necessarily the way we prefer to do it, but still a viable way to do it and save some money, quite a bit of money. And we're looking at some other ways to save some dollars too, in terms of just doing circuits a little bit differently next year. A lot of that I can't start until July 1st. So we'll look at that, but to answer your question, Mike, you know where we're at on that.
I just didn't know if there was anything new that since we've had our last meeting. So.
No.
Is there a projected time to move?
For us, we're looking at a few months, and that was
A few months ago?
yeah, we're still it was probably 6 months. So fiscal year, we've got to add another circuit, especially out there. We've done some hardware moves out there and such. So,
Hey, can we go back? Carpel.
yes,
The case management for the
the
DA
prosecutor,
and
need
the
to
DA and the PD.
Yep.
Does that work in conjunction with jail tracker? Is there a,
No.
okay.
No, there was talk at one time of interfacing those, but it never came to fruition. So the way people would get to, the way our people, and I say ours, meaning the DA and such, get to jail tracker is through the portal. Jail portal, actually, now. It used to be our portal when we kind of cut ties IT wise. Just to be clear, there is still a physical connection between the buildings, but IT wise, they built their own portal.
But the intent was for those.
There was an intent to do it. I couldn't tell you what the reason why they didn't go through with it. The cost might be, I don't know. It wasn't our project, so.
All right, anybody have anything else for Dane? No, we'll move on. Thanks, Dane.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the DA's office. Hey, Dane?
Yes.
Do you mind on your way out running down to HR and see if anybody's down there and tell them we're ahead of schedule, if they could
I can do that.
move this way, post haste?
Hello. The only two changes we have is parking and warehouse. And both of those go to metro parking, and the county owns the warehouse that we're in. So the warehouse fees almost doubled. I think they increased their space. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but our rent went from $5,500 a month to $11,400.
Would you say it went from what to what?
5,500 to 11,106.
Is that for your storage out on 23rd? Okay, and so for some reason I was thinking you guys were paying for that out of other funds, but that's gonna be out of.
Well, all this that we're reporting, the county's reimbursed from our state funds. It's called M&O.
Okay, yeah, you're right, yeah, I get you.
So it's actually benefits the county, I guess, if our rent goes up in that warehouse.
Okay, was there a change in your other one?
Parking, and that's just, we're just having more spaces than we did last year. We're running short this year.
Okay. Anybody have anything for us? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, so all we have left is HR.
If they're not available, I say we.
Push into Thursday.
Jinx.
Mm-hmm.
Are they on?
It's fortunate I forgot to bring my notes of everything I wanted to say, so.
I know. Sometimes I write them on this, sometimes I write them on pages. I try to write them on something like this.
What do you guys want to do? I can run down there and check for the one. I know Dane was going to, but
We're a good hour 20, and then we have to be at lunch, so.
I'm asking Brad if he's available.
That'll all text at the exact same time.
We could probably take a look at it and it may just be flat.
Well, it's 102,000 more.
I texted her this. I may be able to help.
And you guys kind of think
It looks like 102 less. Yeah, it's less.
Why
Oh,
is
okay.
the top line less than the bottom line? Just,
I think that was just a formula error.
see, the correct one is the.
Did you bring your bingo card?
She did, she does that. Yeah, those numbers are.
what's that?
The top one shows 102 under, the bottom one shows 102 over.
Are you?
what page are you on?
This is their last page there. Yeah.
I think
Is Laura down there?
Yeah, they're kind of. It's on right through.
Check your emails.
Should we put more in their budget for computer technology?
Might as well. Is that constitutional?
It is.
adequate constitution.
Deferred opposed.
Adequate.
Hey, I got a question for you. What's 20% of 20,000? 4,000. So why in the jail trust meeting did the car dealer say it was 400? And that's what we reduced the estimate of needs by. I was just thinking as I watched it. My car dealer math gets the same answer you got. And I never made it past sales.
It made it harder.
Well, F and I is where they make all the money, man.
What did you ask?
What 20% of 20,000 is?
Oh. Yeah.
They reduced their estimate of needs by the salary ask plus 400 for the 20% of the 20,000 salary increase.
All right, y'all are up.
Move to receive.
All right, where do you want to start?
Beginning.
All right, Brad, you guys are the last ones, so you're holding up us getting out of here for the day, so
Ryan,
start where you want to start and we'll knock it out.
I want you to lead.
Okay. So, I wanna start by thanking, Chantel, thank you so much for helping us prepare the budget as our director is out on leave. We tried to, follow the, Jessica's direction and her direction of keeping our budget flat. So, that's what we strive to do here. We received a copy of it with the adjustments for the premiums. But basically what we tried to do is we moved money around to allocate it into object codes where it would make more sense to have the money. And as you can see in a lot of the line items, we are decreasing the amount that we're requesting. So we can go line by line, or if you want to just go over the amount or the lines that we increase and we can explain. I'm not sure how you would like to do this.
Well, under salaries, I saw previously you had a part-time position budgeted and now you don't.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we removed that part-time position in part to, that's where we wanted to move those dollars to fund our learning management system. That's something that we want to definitely purchase.
It looks like they've added
They're
that
under-
position then.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, this is a new form and everything, but it appears to me that this isn't flat, this is $102,000 under.
Yes, they made some adjustments which made it under.
Yep.
Yes, after we had completed it, they didn't have the, I think part of the benefits was in there, that were added after we did that, so it did end up being quite a bit under. Yes.
There was some over projections on benefits last year that we corrected in this budget.
So we don't have that over projection on there.
Yeah, if you look, we budgeted for like 23 staff for benefits last year.
Yeah. So that was something that they.
It was an oversight that clearly everybody missed because we were funded for it, so.
Wow.
It says on here, your FY 25-26, you had 6.
It was corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talked to Albert about that like Monday.
Yeah. It was corrected to 6.
But if that's not what you were budgeted, if you say you were budgeted at 23, then that should be on here.
Yeah.
So are you gonna have lapsed dollars then significantly because of that?
Didn't it all go to benefits?
It went to benefits.
Oh, that's true, it went straight over, yeah,
Our budget anyways goes to jobs.
yeah,
So.
okay.
But when we were trying to do the apples to apples comparison, right, because now this year the benefits are showing an equal amount. So if they actually had 23 in benefits last year, what was the amount? Christie, was a transfer in from their department immediately to benefits after the first 2 years, or just
No.
Just right, like it never got.
never got put in?
Yeah.
All right, anybody have any questions?
Well, let me ask on the salary page, and I just, on the top 25-26, there is the part-time added in, as well as at the bottom.
Where are you seeing that, Christie?
It's on the salary sheet. 25-26, what Brandy kind of brought up. The
46.
The part-time position, the 46, they did get funded for.
Right, but then 27 is not there.
Well, it is, they just moved it up from under vacancy,
vacancy.
whereas last.
USCC financial position as well.
I was saying that's a different position, okay.
Yeah, we have one full-time position. We don't have previously we had a full-time and a part-time position in our budget. We eliminated the part-time position to offset the cost for the LMS system we're attempting to purchase, and we have one vacancy, one full-time vacancy. That's what it should be. 4, 5.
And
yeah,
also
6.
last year, I believe we had a financial, person on our budget and that had been removed from us. So that's not, that full-time position is not gonna be showing.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I see it. I just kept looking, it went down, but then you went 6 positions instead of 5, but I see where
And the new position is just
it was
that
just up at the
vacancy.
top, but the count wasn't there.
The new position that's down under single family rates, that's just that vacancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else have anything else? All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry we're late.
Oh, you weren't late. You're early. You're early. Well, they were late for being early.
There's some salary reductions down here from the 25-26 budget, and they're showing. Am I looking at that right?
There looks like there's something wrong there, Joe. I couldn't figure it
Thank
out.
hallelujah, I'm not as dumb as I thought I was.
But I
When I'm
figure I'll
looking
look
down
at
at
that
the number
later.
of employees, on 25-26, they're saying 23 employees.
Where's it showing 23?
They modified it.
Oh, maybe it got fixed in the handout. I'm still on the book version. Sorry. That's me.
Well, the salary dollars are off unless.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, salary number. Something doesn't look right. I figured I wouldn't
Those are
hold
taking
everybody up
cuts.
on that, because we can figure that out when we're having our in-depth discussions on all of these estimates.
Keep these sheets and you get new sheets.
Yep.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
All right,
Except for Karen.
does anybody want to revisit any of the other items that we've already discussed on the agenda?
Laura's gone.
If not, item 9, discussion possible action regarding follow-up questions to any estimate need that's already been presented. Anything from the previous meeting? Seeing none, is there any citizens that wish to participate?
Hey, Cody, sorry, she was trying to get her. No, you're okay. In regards to the previous submitted, estimated needs, so emergency management, election board, free fair court services, economic development, 2010 capital improvements, county commissioners, and now we have revised, estimated needs to capture the 26, premiums. So I just want to make sure I put that on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any board comments? District 2?
No, thank you.
Clerk? District 3? No. District 1? Treasurer?
Nothing.
Clerk?
Move to adjourn.
Assessor?
Thank you.
Sheriff? All right, we got a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Second.